Hi guys, today we are going to be reading a book that is nonfiction, and the title is called An Ocean of Animals by Janine Scott. And what is your first clue that this might be a nonfiction book? Yeah, because there's pictures of real stuff on here. Now that doesn't mean that it couldn't be a story about some magical starfish creeping along the coral in the ocean. But in this case, you were right. Your first guess of it being nonfiction was correct. Now there are some other things in this book that help us know that it's nonfiction, and I'll show you one of those text features. One of those text features is called the table of contents. So this is pretty cool. In nonfiction books, if you're picking up the book and you're like, I don't want to really read the whole book. I only want to know about the coastal zone of the ocean. You're like, so I'm just going to read about the coastal zone. I don't care about any of this other stuff. So you would just look over at the page number. It says page number 6. You would turn to page number 6, and voila, you would have information about the coastal zone. All right. So the table of contents is really cool because it can help you find information more quickly, especially if you're doing something like research, if you're trying to research something for science. All right, so I'm going to read the whole book to you because it's super interesting, and I love ocean animals and the ocean. I mean, what's not to love? All right, look at that beautiful picture. That's so pretty. Full of life. Looking from shore, the ocean seems to hold just water, but it's bursting with animals. These animals live in different parts of the ocean, or zones. Okay, so that goes back to what we were looking at here in the table of contents. It has all these different zones. So there's the coastal zone, the sunlight zone, the twilight zone, ooh, the dark zone, and unknown life. Ooh, that sounds kind of mysterious. I'm excited. Oh my gosh, look at this guy. Ah, he's so cute. The coastal zone. The coastal zone is where the land meets the water. Coastal animals often live in and out of the water. Crabs scuttle along the beach. Seabirds fly overhead. So the coastal zone, if we're looking at this picture of the beach, the coastal zone is this area right here. So not way out here in the deep, and not here, and not all the way out of the water, but they're kind of half and half. They like the water sometimes, and they like to be out in the sand sometimes. So they're both. This little guy likes to live in the coastal zone. He's cute, although I think he might give you a nasty pinch if you got in his way, don't you? And those eyes, what? Kind of looks like an alien. Ah! Oh my. All right. This is the sunlight zone. The sunlight zone is the top layer of the ocean. Most of the world's fish live in this zone. Look at all those fish. That's like the shark is swimming around. He's like, I'm going to go grocery shopping. And he just looks up and he's at the grocery store. And he's like, I think I'll eat that one and that one and that one. Sharks. Small fish munch plants. Sharks eat the small fish. Oh my goodness. I would not want to swim and see that thing staring at me. Oy. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. So pretty. Coral reefs grow in the sunlight zone in shallow water. Millions of animals live on each reef. Sea anemones, that's this right here, spend their lives clinging to one piece of coral. If you've ever seen the movie Finding Nemo, most of that movie where Nemo lives takes place on a coral reef in Australia. And he lives inside of a sea anemone. If you remember in the movie, he says sea anemone, because he can't say the word anemone, which is a hard word to say. Aw, look at this little guy. Mammals live in the sunlight zone too. Manatees graze on seagrass. Sea otters dive and play in the seaweed. Giant blue whales swim in the open ocean. That little manatee, does he remind you of something? Yeah, does he remind you of a baked potato? Doesn't he look like a potato, but with a face? Little guy, you look like a potato. Okay, the Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone starts about 660 feet or 200 meters deep. It gets very little sunlight. The dragonfish has lights on its body to lure prey to it. Okay, and again, if you've seen the movie Finding Nemo, there is a fish in that movie that has that thing that comes off of its head and it has a light on it. Because down, down, down deep in the ocean, it's very, very dark because no sunlight can reach down there. So a lot of the creatures that live down there have features on their body that project or make light. The dark zone. The dark zone starts at about 3,300 feet. I'm going to show you that number because that's a big number. 3,300 feet or 1,000 meters deep. It's very dark and very cold. Tube worms cluster around thermal vents to stay warm, and that's what we're seeing in this picture are these tube worms. Now I think most of the time when we have pictures from places like this, divers can't go down with tanks. They have to be in some type of a submarine because it's dangerous for people to be down that deep because the water is very heavy. Unknown life. Ooh, that looks cool. Look at that. More than half of Earth is covered in very deep water. Very little has been explored. Who knows what animals scientists will find in the future? So this is kind of interesting to think about. This is what nonfiction is so great at doing. It presents information and then your mind has to go, I wonder what is over here or down there that this submarine can't see. Creatures that might be so big and so scary or so teeny and so pretty that we can't even think of them. Maybe there is a glow-in-the-dark unicorn fish down there. You never know. Maybe someday scientists will find them. Maybe you'll be that scientist. All right, so at the back of a lot of our fiction books, we have things like extra facts. So a fact is a piece of information about something. So here are some facts that you might be interested in knowing. If a sea star's arm breaks off, so like one of these guys, if he loses an arm, it can grow another one. How about that? People are not like that, are they? If we lose a body part, it's just gone, isn't it? It's sad. But these have a special ability to regrow arms. Animals like seals, beluga whales, and walruses live in the cold waters near the North and South Poles. They all have a thick layer of fat called, and I bet you know what it is, yep, blubber, to keep them warm. I love the word blubber. Blubber, blubber, blubber. So this walrus, he's got lots of blubber, so he's very, very cozy, even though it's freezing cold. Oh, here's a really cool fish. This is a really, really neat fish, and I like this photograph. It's a good one. There's a really good one I've seen on the internet where its mouth is open. All right, so this is a whale shark, and it's the world's largest shark, but really, and I need to say this because it's actually a fish, and they don't have really any teeth. They just feed kind of like a whale. They open their mouth really, really wide, and then they just kind of swim around and let things fly in there. It gets about 45 feet long. That's very, very long. Longer than a lot of boats you might see on the lake. That's a big fish. If you were swimming around and saw that, you'd be like, yeah, I'm getting out now. Sea otters eat shellfish, such as clams, and they smash the shells open by hitting them against a rock. Sounds like a pretty good way to open something, doesn't it? They're using the rock as a tool, aren't they? To scare away predators, the porcupine fish sucks in water. Its body fills up to appear twice its normal size. Its spines pop out too. Porcupine fish, or puffer fish is what they're sometimes called, are pretty cute. All right, and another thing that a nonfiction book has is this magical thing called a glossary. And a glossary is really neat because it's kind of a dictionary for all the words you saw in the book that you might not know, like coral reef, explore, graze, lure, mammal, sea anemone, shallow, and thermal vent. Now there was one thing that when we were reading, I didn't really know what a thermal vent was, where those the tube worms lived. I don't really know what that is, so I'm going to read about it. A thermal vent is a crack in the ocean floor that spews super hot water. Oh, well that is interesting. I did not know that. And so I guess those worms just hang out. It's like they're at the spa, right? They're in a hot tub. Oh, I wonder if they feel like they're in the hot tub. And sometimes in the backs of our nonfiction books, we have other things that this says read more, and there are other books that you might be interested in. So if you went to the library, you could find this book called Ocean Commotion, or Colors of the Ocean, or What If There Were No Sea Otters. So those are some books you could check out. You can also get on the internet and look up things at facthound.com, and that is a fun internet site that relates to this book, so you might check that out at home. All right, and then the last text feature of a nonfiction book is this thing called an index. And an index is a place where, let's say you've picked up this book from the library, okay, and you're like, I don't know if I want to check it out because really all I'm interested in are whales. And so you look at this and you're like, I wonder if I could find out if there were whales in this book without reading the whole book. You can. All you have to do is flip back to the index, look for the word whales. There it is, right after walruses and before zones, because whale, the W, comes right before a Z. And then it shows you what whales are talked about, the beluga whale and the blue whale, and then it shows you the page numbers. Page 20 and page 12. So then you can go to page 20 and it has a bit about whale sharks. And then on page, beluga whales. Ha! Sorry about that. And then blue whales, page 12. Page 12. I didn't use my index right. I looked at the whale shark and said whale. I'm so silly. And the page 12, it says there are giant blue whales. Now, if I'm a person who's really interested in whales, though, I probably wouldn't check this book out because there were no pictures of whales. I want to see what they look like. So this might not be a good pick if I want to know something about whales. But if I want to know something about, let's say, tube worms, there were some pictures of tube worms and some information that I thought was pretty cool. All right, I hope you enjoyed our tour in the ocean.